What about the people who hearing these terms and they're like, I'm not sure if that really defines me. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
that's the camp I'm really in. How does
Sure.
one go about really finding their worldview?
Right. I think that's a very good question, and I think that's a very practical question. Scholars have looked at four or five fundamental worldview questions that the human race has always been asking, that philosophers have always been trying to understand over the centuries. Every human being that is that has this ability to think rationally at some point or the other in his life has asked these questions. And the first question is the question of origins. This is a question that has baffled the scientists all along, and they had very many answers. Have to face this question of, where did I come from? How did we come to be? And so that's a question of origins, okay, be it the human race, or be it life, on the whole, or be it the idea of this earth or the solar system or our galaxy, the Milky Way, or, the universe, or the multiverse or the ultiverse. The question is never going to stop. The second is a question of identity. It's very interesting that your podcast is named as Identity Crisis. Is the question of, who am I? Is a very, very deep question. It's a very interesting question, and there are no easy answers. Let us say, if I describe myself as a very rich and affluent person, if all of my wealth and affluence disappears overnight, God forbid, I don't have anything much, so it's a hypothetical situation. So will I then cease to be Charles? Or if I decide to go to the Indian Gazette and get my name changed from Charles to Chaplin, will I somehow become different? Or if I move away from my core training, which is physical therapist, and later on in life choose to enter the domain of apologetics, am I becoming less of who I am or more of who I am? But that's a question that all of us are struggling with. That's why we have identity crisis. That's why I always grew up thinking I had a nose that was so large that I used to be embarrassed about it all my life. And so our physical appearance, our skin tone, our hair texture, our eye color, our height, our weight, our family lineage, what my dad did, what my mom did, my educational qualification, where we are in society, what caste I belong to. But actually, they are not identity markers, and we are only looking and searching for our identity in the wrong places. So as you strip away every single answer that anybody gives in addressing the question of identity, I think we have to get there and find out what is that core personhood that is still preserved when everything else is stripped away. But that would be that person. The third one is the question of purpose or significance. What am I here for? Okay, am I a random collocation of atoms that is here, like a little, blip in the timeline of this universe? Will be here tomorrow, and will tomorrow, the next day, be gone? Or am I here with some intentionality and purpose infused into me? And the next question is the question of ethics or morality or values. Okay, in philosophy, the technical term would be axiology or ethics. Where do I get all my ethics from? Why do I think that if Dimitri does something in this way, that is right, and if somebody else does something else in another way, it is wrong? Who supplies me with all of these things? Who decides who is that moral law giver? Who made that moral law in the first place? And so, what are we as a civilization, as a culture, as communities, as nations, and as the world at large supposed to be living according to? Whose dictates? And the last one would be the question of, where do I go from here? Or the question of destiny. Am I just here for 60, 70 years? And what next? Is there an afterlife? Is there more to me than this particular life? What is after the afterlife? These are questions that we cannot escape. We want to continue to live. We don't want our lives to stop, and we look forward to always something more. And the question of afterlife and the question of, let's say, transhumanism or whatever, or the question of immortality that science is all geared up to, or the question of finding new life elsewhere in other planets, all of these might look like very noble scientific pursuits, but at the core of that are worldview questions that are trying to be answered. You need to come back to be able to appreciate from where all of these impulses were sent out to embark upon such so-called pursuits of finding, longevity, immortality. All of this is rooted in the question of where do I go from here?
So, to understand one's own worldview, the question of origin, where do I come from? Then of identity, who am I?
Mhm,
Then of morality or ethics, what is right and
mhm,
wrong? And my
mhm.
purpose, what am I here for? And
Mhm.
my destiny, where
Right.
do I go after I die? Or where do I go from here?
From here. Right.
Right, right. These four questions, five questions, would help me to understand where do I sit on this spectrum
Right.
called worldview.